welcome to Inside the WSL. Let's get into the business end of the season, so we needed to keep the energy up, keep the pace up. So who better than, I guess, this week, former winger, Rachel Yankee. Great to see you, Rachel.
Thank you for having me.
Every time I see you, you look exactly the same. You haven't aged a bit. You've still got energy. You've still got pace, right?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Thought so. You've been doing those speed drills, haven't you?
Running for the bus.
Brilliant. We'll be talking about speed drills a bit later with Rachel Yankee. But before then, let's see what's coming up on the show.
The amount of players in the last year or so that's done it, you know, for the future of the women's game, like, something has to change.
So I think we only really have dipped our toes in what it means, and it absolutely hasn't quite sunk in yet what the next steps are.
I'm under strict instructions from my mum not to get attached to any of them, but I think it's going to be hard, to be honest, because I just see them all and I just want to ruffle their fluff and just give them a cuddle.
Now, injuries, they're part and parcel of the game, aren't they? But in women's football, ACL injuries seem to be happening far too often. Remi and Simone Magill know all about it. They've been in rehab together for months. So Fern Whelan went down to Aston Villa to catch up with them.
In terms of the injury, obviously happened at Man United in the April. Can you just talk us through obviously what happened a little bit and, you know, obviously how you were feeling at that moment?
I always remember that feeling in the game of being so fatigued, which I hadn't felt in previous games. In hindsight, I think maybe I probably should have subbed myself off. I should have just said, like, I've hit my point. But I went to press a ball and I sort of knocked into the player, and as I knocked the girl, as I planted, my knee went one way and obviously my body went the other, and I went down and I knew straight away it was something bad.
Your story's a little bit different, but again, similarities, so do you want to talk us through it a little bit?
Obviously we had qualified for the Euros for the first time, so I went straight into training, like didn't stop, didn't have a break or anything, and get to the first game. The ball's just come into me, and it's not really much contact from behind. It just twisted in and my body's kind of gone the other way, and straight away.
Did you know?
Yeah, like they say that you just know, some people hear like a pop or something. I literally felt the tendon kind of pull away. Just so frustrated because, you know, you wait your whole life to get a moment like that, and I got it, and I just signed a contract in a new team, and then, you know, my first game since all of that, I do my ACL. So yeah, it was a really tough one to take. I'm just fed up sort of saying that it has to be part and parcel of the game. Like, there has to be reasons why this is happening, and, you know, can we look into them and actually put things in place to reduce it?
We've got the physios, we've got this and everything, but are we looking into it enough?
Well, I think we hear a lot, yeah, there's research, but for years and years, all I ever hear is there's research. But obviously it's becoming more prominent, and if you look at the amount of players in the last year or so that's done it,
high-profile players as well.
Yeah, it's insane. So, you know, for the future of the women's game, like, something has to change.
You know, the demands of the women's game are through the roof now, and they're expecting us just to deal with the demands. But, you know, are they looking at how do we manage the female player in today's game? Because if you look at the rate this injury's happening, are we keeping up with that demand? I'm not sure if we are. So the spike's been crazy, and, you know, it can't continue at this rate.
What goes through your head when you know you've got that coming, and how do you stay engaged in that process for such a long time?
Can I just say, Si thought that she was going to have her op and then move from one end of the country to the other a day later. So I'm not so sure Si had any idea what was coming.
No one fill you in on it?
No, I didn't do that. Yeah. I moved first and then I had the op. But I think back to your question, I think it's a process that's very long, so I think it's important to try and not look too far ahead. You've just kind of got to look at your immediate goals, which is, I suppose, something we tried to do, you know, our 6-week goals, our 12-week goals, and kind of just build it up that way. And I think having each other as well has been massive. I think we actually were speaking about that the other day. Like, I don't know how anyone can do this on their own.
Has that helped you form a bit more of a bond and a friendship? And
not through choice, I think. It's just,
I mean, I look after a dog now. We've been to Northern Ireland together, so
you're not at the point where you want to kind of part ways. One thing I did want to touch on, you guys, is it's not something that's spoke about too much within the game and in terms of injuries in the women's game, but it's the nutritional side of things. You know, is it something that is an added thing in your head psychologically? Like,
we've had Liv, our nutritionist, come in this year, and she's been incredible. And she come in and was just like protein. Like, I think people think when you're in rehab, like, you're not doing as much as the players.
Yeah.
I'd actually argue, well, we do more. Like, you definitely do more. Like, we'd be in the gym for hours, like, our pitch sessions are so intense. So the nutrition is really, really important. And actually, there's times when you genuinely have to eat more or eat certain things, more of certain things to fuel you, to keep you going.
And you're not, obviously now you're back on the pitch. How's it feeling?
Yeah, I think, you know, finally, you know, I've said to Remi, like, we feel like footballers again. It's just like a breath of fresh air. I finally like see light, you know, at the end, because it is such a long journey. And even just talking about, you know, the first three months when we were learning how to walk again and single leg squats, and now we're on the pitch, we're sprinting, we're chopping and turning, and, you know, we're doing all of them things again. It's nice to actually reflect and see just how far we've come.
I think for us, it's just about going out there and enjoying it, and, you know, through the journey that we've been on and the days where we're just like, we've wanted to just quit, to get to this point now, like, why wouldn't we enjoy it? Why wouldn't we take the time to be footballers and do the thing that we love?
So good to see them both smiling again. What a journey they've been on in their injury, Rachel. Recently, Remi Allen tweeted that it's been 365 days since the injury, and she was recently included in the matchday squad. Wow, it's a long time to be away from doing something that you love. As she said, there's been so much research done on injuries, on female footballers, on ACLs. Are we any closer to finding out what the problem is and how to prevent them?
Nope. No, I don't think so. You know, I think the blessing for those two is that they had each other.
Yeah.
And so many players, you know, don't have somebody else that they can, you know, speak to and really be understood of what they're going through.
How important is that aspect of it? Because you obviously, you're injured, you go through the physical pains and anguish, but what about the mental and emotional strain?
Yeah, I mean, I've never done an ACL, so I don't know in terms of an injury that, you know, from the moment someone tells you that you've done it, you know you're out for 9 months, possibly longer. You know, that in itself is crushing. But other injuries that, you know, that I've had, just, you go into the change room with your teammates, you have that banter, that, you know, that atmosphere, and then your team go one way to go training and you go another.
And soul destroying.
Yeah, it is. It's you feel lost, you lose your identity as a footballer, and you don't feel like you're contributing to the team and what they're doing. So I think it's an important place that, you know, you have a really good environment within your club to make sure you sort of see people that might be struggling and pull them back in, and you know, everybody has their place within the team.
You can see that the two of them have become really good friends as a part of their rehab, which is great, and it's great that they had that support. Now, are ACL injuries happening more often now than they were when you were playing? I'm wondering, because being involved in the women's game for over 30 years, it's always been an issue as far as I'm concerned. I'm wondering now if it seems like it's more just because the women's game is now more visible, so we're talking about it more because there's more media coverage. Is it happening more, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of question the same thing, to be quite honest. I think now we're staying and we're saying, oh, it's an ACL, where I think about players and I would have just said the knee injury.
Right. Like, so it wasn't necessarily specified back when you were playing.
And then I think, you know, when I was a youngster, the players that were before me, I mean, I'm sure some of them must have done their ACL. I can't really think of people, but I'm sure if we spoke to them, you know, there'd probably be a list. So I don't think it's just something that is now more common. Probably yes, because it's more visible, more people are talking about it. But the one thing that needs to happen is there needs to be more research, there needs to be more data. We need to look into it, but we need to, then something needs to be done with this data.
Yeah, they mentioned it in that interview. There's all this research. People are looking into this, people are looking into that. But then what happens as a result of that? What practical steps are put in place to say this is why it's happening, this is how you prevent it?
Yeah, I don't even know if we'll ever get to a point of this is why it's happening, this is how you prevent it. Or, you know, this. I just feel that we need to understand women better.
Right.
So the next generation that are coming through academies, through the whole youth system, that we're training them better. Because when I started playing, you know, I didn't go into I was probably about 16 when I was going into Arsenal, and then we were training, you know, twice a week, and then it built up from there. So the amounts that we trained. So, but now, as a youngster, maybe, I don't know, 8, 10, you're going into an academy, you're then going to train twice, 3 times, 4 times a week. So we got to make sure that we understand the training that we're doing for those youngsters, but also we're not just copying the male training program.
This is the thing I wonder about, because the women's game is now more professional than it's ever been. Are we aware of what the female footballer needs in terms of recovery, support, to enable them to keep up with the demands of the professional game now?
I couldn't answer that because I don't work in like a youth system. But from an outsider, I'd say no.
Well,
and I'd question it because I'm worried about that. I'm worried about the youngsters coming through. Are we looking at training programs that are designed and have been there for years, but those designs have been for male footballers? Where now we need female health specialists to come into our club to understand, because at certain points of anyone's career, if it's the menstrual cycle, if it's a young player, you know, going through puberty, how their body is growing and how their muscles and how their body will change. We need to understand that, otherwise you're putting a person at risk. You know, just through me reading up about ACLs, I was just astonished that women are more likely, but then there's a certain type of women that are more likely. So I was like, you know, there needs to be more done.
Yeah, Rach, it's a conversation that we will continue to have here on Inside the WSL, because it's an important one and so many female footballers are impacted by it. But meanwhile, in the WSL, what a season it's been so far, at the top, at the bottom. We don't know who will be relegated yet from the league, but we do know who will be there next season. It will, of course, be Bristol City. After some promotion celebrations, Lindsay sat down with their head coach, Lauren Smith.
They are returning to the top flight of women's football.
Lauren, great to see you. Congratulations on the promotion. Has it sunk in what it means, Lauren, for the club?
I don't think so, not fully. I think there is parts, because we've been working towards this. It's been an ambition of mine and the club's since I joined. So it's something that we've had very much just there for a while that we're focusing on. I think the next steps are going to come quickly. What this means, especially with how quickly in that last 2 years the game has grown, the interest has grown. So I think we only really have dipped our toes in what it means, and it absolutely hasn't quite sunk in yet what the next steps are.
After promotion, you were quick as well to stress that this has been a 2-year project. Can you just detail what that project has looked like behind the scenes?
We've moved grounds, so we originally were across 2 sites. So the main club training ground where the men and the boys academy are. So we've moved full-time here, and that happened last season, towards the end of last season. So this is the first year we started pre-season and have been at one ground, and the facilities are amazing here. So really proud to be able to say that we've got WSL facilities, and that's been a huge part of it. We've moved offices twice because we've outgrown them with our staff recruitment. Yeah. So that's big. That's a huge part to us. Okay, so we can put the support for the players. We've grown in terms of our medical, our performance teams.
Overall, when you look at your squad, it's a pretty young squad. But in January, you did reinforce. You brought in figures like Rachel Furness, who've got a lot of experience. And I'm wondering about recruitment now, Lauren. With one eye on the summer, will you have to bring in more experience, or are you going to try and bring through more of the younger players that you've already got?
For me, it's about a blend of both in terms of that. I think as a club, our values, and it's why I came back, is to make sure that young players that are good enough, which we've got, get opportunities to play. And if they are good enough, they will always get that regardless of experience. I'm happy to give the young players that experience to progress their careers. And you can see that in some of the ones that we've got. And to be able to get through the season with such a young squad has been really enjoyable, because they're great to work with. But yes, we absolutely need to add experience to that. And in some ways, we already have quite a bit of experience because of the players that have remained with us since we were in the WSL, and they were young themselves at the time. So we already have a little bit, and yeah, we'll be looking to add some experience to our squad, but keep that blend for sure.
Yeah, I think experience will be key, as Lauren was saying there, Rachel. I mean, they've been promoted. They've lost just 3 games all season. They've won promotion with a season to spare. They've been so impressive. Also, watching their promotion chase there was a record crowd at Aston Gate, 7,000 fans. How important will that support be in the WSL?
Oh, hugely important. I just remember always going up and playing against Bristol, or a team from Bristol, and their support that they gather is just fantastic.
Big football fans?
Yeah, I think, the whole city. So, I think it's going to be one where teams won't want to go and play Bristol City away.
Yeah. And we mentioned experience. It sounds like Lauren wants to get that mix of experience but also youth as well. Will she have to recruit well in terms of players to get into to make sure she's competitive in the top flight?
Yeah, I think so, but I think it's more about the characters you bring in. Okay. You've got to make sure that you don't upset, the ethos of the team. And she spoke a little bit about knowing the club and what she wanted. So, I think that's important, that she brings in the right people. But for me, I think very clever in bringing in Anita Asante. I know she's not playing, but what she will bring, the experience, how she will talk to the players, just her knowledge. I think, it's such an important thing to have someone with that experience in your club.
Yeah, big season coming up for them in the WSL. Can't wait to see them playing. Congratulations to everyone at Bristol. Now, I know, Rach, that you're a big dog fan. So is Man City's Esme Morgan. Now, the club played a prank on her last April Fool's, and she was so devastated when she realised it was a joke that we've been looking for a way to make it up to her. So, Lindsay took her for a very special visit.
Oh, very good. About turn.
Yay, we sat. Tasty treats.
Esme, it's brilliant to be in these surroundings, you and dogs. I've wanted to see this happen ever since I saw that clip that happened on April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
Now, this was last year. Tell us what happened.
Well, we were just doing lines to camera, as we often get told to do, sort of for Happy New Year and things like that. And we'd gone through, and I was announcing this club new K9 sports star. Shut up.
Yeah.
Like an agility trial dog?
Yeah.
No way. I thought, football nowadays, it's probably not out of the ordinary for a club to have a club dog. Anyway, I then got told to do different other lines, and then at the end, Happy April Fool's. Well, I didn't piece together that April Fool's and the dog were connected because there'd been so much in between, and then they told me that that's what the prank was, and I was so upset.
Happy April Fools. Oh God, what have you got planned?
What you just did. The K9 Sports Pro, I'm so sorry to break your heart, but
No! I'm so sad. I just pictured a cute little puppy in a City shirt, just wiggling in and out of poles, tearing around a little course, and then it was all made up, so I was absolutely gutted.
You are a dog lover, so it felt like a natural thing to bring you where dogs are. We are surrounded by them today. You've got to meet Ellie. How excited have you been today?
She's so sweet. I was really looking forward to it. I've never had a dog of my own because my dad's got allergies to them and stuff, but whenever anyone else has got the dog or brings their dog into training or whatever, I'm always so excited. Coombsy's got one called Duke. He's so cute. I like to think I'm his godmother. Chloe's got a couple, Otis and oh gosh, what's the other little one? Rolo, the other one's called. They're so sweet, but yeah, there's quite a lot of dogs throughout the team and everyone absolutely loves them to bits. I think Coombsy's actually organised a dog yoga session for the group, so there's a lot of excitement about that. We're campaigning at the minute to try and get a doggy daycare on site at the club, but we're having some issues in that.
And if that happens, you'll be back here.
Oh, I might retire from football and just work at the dog centre because I'd be so excited.
England call-up, being in the title race, is there anything else to tick off this season?
Well, I think we'd like to win the WSL if possible. I think obviously the result against Arsenal was a little bit of a setback, but I can't see it being plain sailing for any of the other 3 teams towards the end of the season. They've still got to play each other, so I think there's going to be twists and turns right to the wire, so we just need to do our job, win all of our games and see where that takes us. And on a personal note, I want to keep trying to perform at a high level and hopefully get selected to the World Cup, because that would just be an absolute dream.
Looking back, do you set personal targets?
To be fair, at the start of the season, I didn't know if I was going to come back off my broken leg and just be rubbish, because you have those thoughts during rehab when you've not played for so long, and you sort of have those injuries. You think, am I going to be the same when I come back? But it was really rewarding for me to see that all the hard work I put in while I was out injured in rehab sort of paid off, because when I was back I felt better than I'd ever been. And so I think I'll look back on this season as sort of a message that no matter what setback you have, you can always push and come out better the other side.
It's seen since COVID that there have been more and more dogs handed in and need rehoming. It's a lot of work behind the scenes, and you being here helps shine a light on it. And do you take that seriously as well?
It's so sad because you see their little faces and they look so sad in the shelter, and I just think they just want to be loved. So if anyone is able to sort of rehome them and give them a family to be a part of, I think that's really special. And I'm under strict instructions from my mum not to get attached to any of them, but I think it's going to be hard, to be honest, because I just see them all and I just want to ruffle their fluff and just give them a cuddle.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep an eye on you. There might be a few going home otherwise.
Yeah, I think in a couple of years' time, when I'm like ready for the responsibility, I'll be heading back here to take a dog home.
Yes, Esme's right. A dog isn't just for Christmas. You're a dog fan, aren't you?
Yeah. We've always had rescue dogs at our house.
Have you?
So yeah.
Just like what Esme wants then?
Yeah, no, definitely. Ours was from Battersea Dogs Home, our last dog. So yeah, he's well, my mum kind of missed having a dog around, so we went in to get a dog for about, I don't know, 5-year-old, and we come out with a 7-month staff.
Well
it was just lovely. But yeah.
I can see that you're a big dog fan. I got the chance to spend a bit of time with Esme Morgan last summer. She's such a funny, kind-hearted young lady. And I was really struck by how mature she was as well. She spoke a bit about her injury and not knowing whether she was going to come back. My goodness, she's come back and she's, become pretty much a mainstay for that Man City defence.
Yeah.
How impressive have you been with the fact that she's come back from such a major injury?
Well, I just think that just shows her character. Yeah. Like you say, such a youngster, but also I think that's the youth today in terms of when I look at like the players that are coming through. They just show so much maturity.
They do.
And I suppose you've got to look at the Man City players that are around her, being able to support her. But now she's put herself in a fantastic opportunity, obviously, to play week in, week out for Man City, but to put the shirt on for England and be in with a chance. So.
Yeah, I mean, 4 caps to her name so far. She could well be on that plane, particularly with England's injury worries as well. Now, we're almost coming to time, Rach, but I couldn't let you go without mentioning your podcast. I'm going to call it your podcast.
My podcast now.
Yeah. Sky Sports is 3 players and a podcast. It's a great listen. Take a look.
When did you know, Rachel Yankee, that you were brilliant and this is what you were destined to do?
Did I ever make it? I don't know if I made it. I played because I enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't really know how to answer that, if that answers that. Sorry.
You two better tell Rachel that she was always the real deal.
I was literally just about to say that.
As I'm coming in with my size 9.
No, I was literally just about to say that. No, Yanks didn't know how to become the real deal because she literally was the real deal. And that's why everyone just followed suit after.
You can listen to every episode of 3 Players and a Podcast, wherever you get your podcast from. It really is such a fun listen, Rach. I chuckle along most weeks. So I guess the idea is just like you, Jen and Izzy just talk about whatever's on your mind?
Well, no, Caroline's the leader.
Okay.
She's the one.
So there's set topics?
Yeah,
okay.
Set topics. There's always 3 topics.
Okay.
And Caroline guides us to where we have to go. And then I think the beauty of it is that we're all so different.
Yeah.
We've got different
personalities.
And different personalities. So, it's quite good. It's quite, well, I hope people like it.
I've been loving it. And you're enjoying it? I suppose it's your first time on a regular podcast like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, for me, I'm just happy that I log in because I'm so bad on the computer. So being able to log in, I've got a microphone, I've got a camera, I have absolutely no clue.
Bit of a technophobe, are you?
Yeah, I'm not the greatest. And then I've got the little baby next to me usually. Yeah, she tends to stay up, so And it always, you know, she wants feeding, so I'm multitasking. So
That's
yeah,
impressive.
bear with me on
That's
it.
impressive. Well, long may that continue, maybe into next season
Fingers
as well.
crossed, yeah.
Yeah, because it's been such a great listen. Rach, it's been great listening to you today as well. Thank you for coming on to Inside the WSL.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you. Thank you for watching at home. See you next time.
Sky Sports Football. Feel it all.